Hello and welcome to Sparks and Volts. Today we have my very own car, a CL500 from 2003. I believe this is the best car you can purchase for £5,000, and in this video I'm going to try and convince you why. So this specific CL is known as the C215 chassis number, and this came in 2001. As you know, it's a two-door version of an S-Class. This car has a 5-litre V8 engine pushing 306 brake horsepower, mounted to a 5-gear gearbox. So, despite being from 2003, this car comes with so much technology, some of which you don't even get in cars today. For example, soft closing doors, soft closing boot, a very brand new infotainment system for its time. I believe this was one of the first cars to have a TV-like display inside of it. Electric seats, heated seats, the headrests at the back go up and down electronically. Even more things that I can mention that hopefully I get to show you throughout the video. So let me know what you think about this, guys. I like my cars to be original. When I purchased this car, it's actually come with the alloys from the C216CL AMG, I believe. I do think it looks good on this. I do like the look of it. I think it sits well. However, I am tempted to see what's on the market and maybe get the original alloys for this car. Let me know what you think. Other than a brand new S-Class or a brand new S-Coupe, I can't see what other cars would have this. I just love it. Little things like that really make this car stand out to me as a luxurious motor. Now these things are extremely rare these days. 5-litre V8. Arguably the best thing about the car. It's so smooth. It's honestly such a pleasure to drive on the motorway, and you can even have some fun with it. When you put your foot all the way down, it does make a beautiful noise. So straight away upon entry to the car, you're greeted with beautiful things to see. This being one of them, is definitely something you don't see on cars of today unless you're getting something like a Bentley Continental. The silver door lining here, floor lining, sorry. The wood on the steering wheel, the wood all around the center console, the wood on the door trim. I just feel like you don't really see this sort of stuff anymore, and you know, it feels very special to be sitting inside the car even 20 years later. And to my surprise, even the rear legroom isn't that bad. Check this out. I've actually enjoyed sitting in the back of this car. Just like the front, you're surrounded by wood and leather. And you have your own climate control as well. Now this is a very interesting car because it's actually one of the first flagships from Mercedes-Benz after Daimler had merged with Chrysler. So as you may well know, that in the 80s and 90s and even the 70s, sorry, Mercedes was a byword for luxury. Everyone knew that the engineers in Mercedes-Benz had higher authority than the accountants. But it was said to change when Mercedes-Benz merged with Daimler. Now, of course, journalists and car customers were extremely worried that this meant cost-cutting from Mercedes-Benz. Now, this being one of the first flagships of the time after the merger with Chrysler, people were very intrigued to see where these cost-cutting measures took place. Now, one of which, with the S-Class, was the fact that it was very prone to rust. However, you won't have that problem in the CL, as it was released a couple years later and they made it out of alloy, a mixture of metals, rather than steel. However, you still do have a problem. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but this alloy here tends to oxidize, and you can see it doesn't look very nice, and I can imagine it's quite expensive to sort out. Now you also seem to get like a bubbling effect on the windows at the top here. Now they are double glazed windows, which is very nice indeed. However, I don't know if you can see on the camera these things here right at the top. I don't actually know what causes that, but I think the only way to get rid of it is by actually buying a new window. Another thing is that the rubber seal here tends to lose its ability to continue doing good sound insulation, and what that tends to be is from, if you've had a problem with the rear window not working and not going down, when you open and close the door, the rear window is supposed to go up first, after, and then that creates a proper seal. If this stops working, the front window tends to catch the seal, and after time it starts to become bent and less effective. However, that aside, this car came with very, very good details indeed. For example, the doors on this thing are massive. However, this double hinge system enables the door to come forward, so in a car park you don't actually have to open your door that wide to get out. Now this was extremely expensive, and they actually only did this on this car. They stopped doing this on the CL that came after this, simply because it cost too much money. Right, I think it's time to go for a drive. Right guys, so we're behind the wheel of the big barge, the CL 500. Straight away you just realise that you're in such a luxury car. It's so smooth. This is actually quite a bumpy road, and it's like you're on an Aladdin's magic carpet or something. It's absurd. The engine's very quiet. You can hear a bit of that V8 burble, but it's not obnoxious at all. It's not like you're in an AMG or anything like that. This is calibrated to be as quiet as possible. And yeah, it's just a joy to drive. Requires no energy. You know, you won't get a headache in this car. You won't get a backache or anything like that. The seats are very comfortable. You could easily drive this to the north of England and back in one day, no issues at all. I mean, the only issue would be it would cost you a lot of money. And that leads me on to the obvious thing about a 5-litre V8 engine. Of course, it likes to drink. However, this is ULEZ compliant. How weird is that? 2003 5-litre engine, V8, and it's ULEZ compliant. Amazing. Now, if you're in the market for one of these cars, you've probably come across the term ABC suspension and all the horror stories about it. Now, ABC is active body control, and this was actually one of the first cars, if not the first car, to feature it. And basically, it's just a hydraulic suspension where it's connected to a computer brain, and basically the car is kept level at all times. So even under hard cornering, acceleration, deceleration, the car is kept level and flat. Now, when it works, it's bloody amazing. Honestly, 80, 90 miles per hour on the motorway, slight bend, you're not gonna feel a thing. It's so comfortable. However, there can be issues, but I believe if you know what you're looking for when you're looking at the car, it's quite easy to avoid. One of which, does it have a full service history from main dealer for most of its life? Obviously, it doesn't have to be the case now, but for majority of its life, was it serviced by Mercedes-Benz? Has it had the ABC pump changed? one of the things that made me buy this car was the fact that I know it already had work on the hydraulic suspension from Mercedes-Benz. So I thought, okay, all that can go wrong is maybe a new ABC pump, which isn't the end of the world. Looking at one of these cars, a good way to see if it's got any ABC problems is simply just sit in the car and make it raise to its highest level and do that 3 times. If it struggles to do that 3 times in a row, it's probably got some sort of issues with the suspension. But you know, when I checked this car out, it was fine. The owner of the car didn't actually know it could even do that, which was pretty funny. But yeah, also look for the bubbly spots on the paintwork that I was talking about. You don't want too many of those. I mean, it is a 20-year-old car, maybe one or two on each side, not too bad. But if it has more than that and they're really big, probably stay away from the car. But yeah, guys, like, there's some people that would buy this car and then completely replace the ABC suspension with just normal coil suspension. But I feel like that's taken away part of what makes this car so original. You know, that featured on this car for the first time, and I feel like it's a bit of engineering history. You know, it's really groundbreaking suspension for the time. Why get rid of it? Just look after it and it will be fine. So I've had this car for about 6 months and I did actually have the ABC pump changed. That was my fault. There was nothing wrong with it. It was actually the AC compressor that was making this rattling noise, and so I had to spend a lot of money to have them both changed. But again, that was my fault. But yeah, I couldn't imagine driving this car without the ABC suspension. You really do notice it when you're on a motorway and, you know, you're driving at quite high speed. That's when it comes to show you how necessary and important it is on a big heavy car like this. Now, she is quite a lazy car to drive. Usually it's just in very low revs, you know, literally between 1 and 2,000, and just cruising along, just burbling along, and that's how this car should be driven. However, when you do put your foot down, it's a very smooth acceleration. It's literally like someone's got their hand on your back and they're just pushing you forward slightly, and you're instantly at the speed that you want to be going. It's really surreal because you are going fast, but it doesn't feel like it. And then when you put your foot all the way down, the last 5% of the throttle, there's like a little click. When you put your foot through that, then it literally sounds like a 55 AMG, sounds like a proper V8, really comes to life. Now, 20 years on, everything in this car works, apart from my heated seat. But I don't think that's gonna be too much to fix. If anything, I could just buy another seat online and replace it. But yeah, it amazes me how everything works in this car, and there's so many electronics. You'd think that, you know, some of them wouldn't work, but the rear blind, for example, works. The electronic headrests at the back work. All of the controls for the heated seats work. It's outstanding. I can't believe it. You know, this car would have been about £90,000 brand new, and I bought it for 5 grand, just under 5 grand, and everything works. All right, it does cost a lot to maintain, and you know, she is quite thirsty. I don't drive this car as a daily, I must admit that, but you know, I still think it's the bargain of the century, and you're getting so much car for your money. I really would like you lot to tell me what you think is a better car for 5 grand, and what car you think gives you more for the money. And you know, you sit here in this big comfortable spaceship of a car. I mean, it's 2 doors and it dwarfs nearly every other car beside it. It's hilarious. And it just feels like what a Mercedes-Benz should feel like. Not one of these new ones that share an engine with a Renault, or these little diesels that sound like a tractor. This, to me, is what a Mercedes-Benz should feel like, and I'd rather have a very old premium one than a newer crap one, if I'm honest with you. It's just so comfortable. The wooden steering wheel is amazing. I like the way this car makes me feel when I drive it, and ultimately that's the most important thing about a car, isn't it? It's sparked up conversations as well. I've been at the lights and spoken to people. In my gym car park the other day, this really nice old man came up to me and started talking about the car. So yeah, it definitely is a special motor. So because this car's the 2003 one, it's the facelift one, so you don't get the original infotainment system that came with the car when it was launched. You get this updated one, and it's pretty big and good. Of course, nowadays it's extremely dated. I don't use it, but this car does actually have AUX. If you bought this car from 2003 onwards, it came with an AUX port, and I just put a little Bluetooth adapter into it and play any song I want. The sound system is Bose, sounds bloody amazing, by the way. But yeah, for a car that's so old, it's quite well equipped even for modern day standards. Other things that would have been super duper cool at the time, it's got a mobile phone in here. Really cool, I love it. I'm so happy that I found the car that came with the original phone. It also has engine start stop button, which on this car doesn't work because the card that comes with the key needs to be reprogrammed. It's about £170 from Mercedes, but I think that's well worth doing. I probably will get that fixed at some point. You know, considering it's a 2003 car, I think it's pretty cool that it has that feature, because even nowadays, you know, when a car has stop start and, you know, with the button, it's like, oh cool, it's got an engine stop start button. This is 20 years old, probably one of the first cars to have it. But yeah, things that I dislike about the car, other than its fuel consumption, which is to be expected, nothing, in all honesty. I seem to have bought the only car without the button to make the boot close electronically, which is quite annoying, but other than that, it's got everything I want. Now, just to give you a rough idea what the engine sounds like when you put your foot all the way down, I'm just waiting for this open bit of road to come. I don't know if you heard that, but it does sound nice. Now, I know a lot of people buy these cars and have the mufflers taken out of the exhaust, and it literally sounds like an AMG. I'm in two minds about that. Let me know in the comments what you would do, because again, I like keeping things original, man, but it would be nice to have that noise when you put your foot down, I can't lie. But yeah, let me know what you would do. And another great thing about this car is that it's completely pillarless. So you can literally put all the windows down, stick your arm out, and just enjoy the air. It's amazing. It's all, you know, when you put the sunroof down as well, when you open the sunroof, it's literally kind of like being in a convertible. I mean, it's the next best thing. Makes the car feel really spacious inside. There's always a lot of light in the cabin as well, which I quite like. So yeah, I mean, it's like they just thought about everything you'd need to go for a really long drive in this car and not get tired, and, you know, just make sure you're in extreme comfort at all times. And yeah, I fall in love with this car more and more every day, honestly. I'm not just saying that. I actually want to keep the car for as long as possible. If that turns out to be the case, great. But yeah, we'll see on the channel, guys. Right guys, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's a useful video if you're in the market for one of these cars, or if you're just a fan. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and see you in the next one. Take care.